So I wanted to get a badass cold start sound clip up for you guys, but the Maserati wouldn't start. So the only way to get it started is, of course, with a Mercedes. After a tremendous amount of revving, attempt number 2. Close, no cigar. Attempt number 3. Let's try this. Great success. What is going on, everybody? Behind me we have some very luxurious cars from the 2005-2006 era. We have an S-Class and a Maserati. One of them sucks real bad. One of them is an excellent daily driver. Follow me and find out which is which. Although both of these cars are very beautiful to look at, one is clearly the more obvious choice for a daily driver / commuter car. I can tell you with sheer confidence that the Mercedes is a overall 1,000 times better vehicle than the Maserati. And I'm about to give you a lot of reasons why this Maserati is just a completely terrible car. All the things that you've been seeing about the Maserati online are definitely true. While this may be a very appealing vehicle, the actual behind the scenes mechanics of it are not so pretty. One thing I immediately dislike is that I have the car running, I have my foot out the door, and let's say I put it into first gear, right? Until I close this door, it's gonna keep throwing me back into neutral because of a sensor triggering the car and telling it that the door is open. I want to move my car with my foot out, you know, and this car doesn't allow me to do that. Like, what the fuck? Transmission in this car is a F1 style transmission. So it's pretty much the transmission you get in like a Ferrari 360, very close to, like, say, like a SMG E46 M3 or SMG E60 M5. Basically, if you're trying to drive this car like an automatic, it's gonna look like a kid that's learning how to drive stick shift for the first time. It's a very jerky overall car. There's no smoothness to this car whatsoever. The suspension feel is equivalent of like a Toyota Matrix. Like the Mercedes, you could tell when you drive it that it's a well-built vehicle. This just feels like they slapped a Ferrari-style engine and transmission into a piece of shit. And it evidently tells as soon as you drive it, because when you know what a nice car feels like to drive, and then you hop in this, you immediately know. This car is designed, I feel like, to fool non-car people into thinking that this is like a crazy, sporty, luxurious ride, but this is, in reality, just a piece of shit. You do get these cool door handles right here. I'll give it that. This is the interior on the Maserati. Not bad, but when you consider that it was almost the same price as the S-Class, and the comfort you get in here is terrible. After about a 3-hour road trip, your back is going to be killing you in this car. There is a lot of nice wood, a lot of nice finishes. These leather straps over here, I've never seen ones like this. This is actually really nice. Trying to, you know, be optimistic, show you the positives. It's got a really cool glove box. You push this. Oh, I guess you got to put the key in to open the glove box, huh? It's like a switchblade style key. So let's actually start this thing up. Cool ass glove box. Check this out. Push this button, gently, nicely drops down for you. Everything's nicely hand stitched on the interior. So those are some. The interior quality of this car. A lot of this shit just falls apart. Like this gear selector, this was falling off. You can pretty much pull it off if you want to. This e-brake button right here kept falling out when I first got the car. Everything was sticky in here. All the bezels for the stereo, all this shit, all the buttons, every single button in here was sticky. I had a detailer that actually got most of the stickiness out. Like all these switches here were sticky. This shit was all sticky. Pretty much everything you touch in this car was sticky. But luckily that could easily be fixed with some product. There's a special product, it's like $40, $50 a bottle, that actually strips down that stickiness off the buttons without taking the paint off. These cars, even with 30,000 miles, every about 25,000 miles, 30,000 miles, this car needs a clutch service. So every 30,000 miles, you're gonna be replacing a clutch on this F1 transmission. I don't want a car every 30,000 miles I gotta fucking change the clutch out. That's just a little bit ridiculous. Like this Mercedes over here, you could drive that Mercedes for 150, 300, 250,000 miles without changing the clutch. Here, nope, you won't get away with it, sonny boy. I could just keep rambling to you about how terrible this car is, but it's got one amazing thing going for itself: the sound of the engine. Not a lot of engines sound like this, and I'm gonna give you guys a sound clip. Check this out. That is one fine, sexy sounding engine, if I do say so myself. Under the hood, we have a 4.2 liter V8 engine. This is very similar to the engine in the Ferrari 360. This is just a poor man's version of it. I believe this doesn't have a flat plane crank, and the Ferrari one does. Therefore, it makes it a little bit different. But here, check this out. This is what this engine sounds like. This car over here has only 31,000 miles and it already needed a clutch. Only thing the Maserati has in the Mercedes is the exhaust note. Everything else the Mercedes does better. It's got air suspension, it's got an actual comfortable ride. It's engineered to feel like a car that's usable on a daily basis. The seats are designed by chiropractors in the Mercedes. It's just night and day difference. Like the Mercedes is usable as everyday daily vehicle. The Maserati is not. Maserati's more like a fun, I don't even know what the use for this Maserati is, to be truly honest with you. The Mercedes just does everything how it's supposed to, like an actual car is meant to, like a real car. Maserati, not so much. Take the first spin, I'll show you exactly why you don't buy it. Welcome to the Maserati Quattroporte 2006. The worst car ever made. Parking brake down. Okay, this check engine is only a check. Once it does its check, it's going to disappear. I think Ferrari 360 do the same exact thing. Okay, let's turn a little bit of AC on because it's 90 degrees outside. Excuse the noise, but we're gonna have to, unless I open the windows, but that's gonna make more noise. So put my phone in here, make sure I have storage. Perfect. Okay, so I'll show you how this car drives first when you don't do the manual shifting, which this car is impossible to drive if you don't do it. So pretty much this car does not have a park mode. Since it's a F1 transmission, it's always in neutral. So when you're, let's say you stop at a stop sign and there's a little bit of a hill, you're gonna roll back a little bit until the clutch engages. So let's put it into first gear. And as you can see, like, it's like a kid learning how to drive stick shift for the first time is controlling the transmission. That's the kind of whole feeling you get in this car. Pretty much, if you leave it in automatic mode, it'll take the throttle off between the shifts. So it's gonna kind of jerk you every single time. Look, if I let my foot off right now on the accelerator, we're rolling back right now. Pretty much you engage the clutch with the gear by pressing the accelerator a little bit, and you feel a little bit of jerkiness. It's impossible to drive this car and actually enjoy it unless you're in MA shift mode. So, sport, manual, MSP. See, we had like some sort of ice slippery traction mode on. So now we have manual, which is manual shifting. See, this is what you switch. For it to shift for you, you leave it on auto. When it's manual, you're going to be doing the shifting. And then we have traction off. So let's go take this thing in the most enjoyable mode possible. Oh, well, actually, we'll let that guy go. Adjust the seat meanwhile. We have the car fully warmed up. I'm gonna do a few pulls for you so you can see and feel what it feels like to drive. This car feels like a Toyota Matrix underneath, like the suspension, the way the suspension is set up. It's not a very smooth luxury ride, I would say. Comparing it to the Mercedes blows this car out of the park in every way. It is a little fun shifting between these gears, just the usability and practicality of it kind of sucks in like everyday driving. Pretty much every time you shift, you got to take your foot off the gas, otherwise you're going to get a really jerky shift. To put it into neutral, bring both of the clutches back. First gear. This is a 6-speed F1, I believe. Yeah, 6-speed. The brakes in here are about mediocre. The turning radius in this car is terrible. Let me show you. We're gonna go in here, we're just gonna do a loop. I remember I wanted to do a U-turn when I was getting some gas in this car earlier, and I had to do reverse, forward, like it was just a mess. But the turning radius is pretty bad. Comparing it to the S-Class, you know, like when you drive the Mercedes every single day, just everything else feels like a piece of shit. If you want performance, reliable performance, in my opinion, I'd buy a V8 compressor car. E55 AMG, S55, CL55, much more refined car. The thing that sucks is these shifters don't move with you. It's like when you're turning the wheel, these shifters are still in place. So if you want to do an upshift mid-turn, you're gonna have to, you know, position your hand a little differently. I am not enjoying myself, man. I am not enjoying myself. This car feels like the S-Class with the dampening mode all the way hardened up, you know, as maximum as you can. No, I think this engine produces a measly like 396 horsepower, or like 333 foot-pounds of torque, somewhere around there. 330 foot-pounds, 390 something horsepower. It's, I don't know, it's just not very impressive to me. when you're used to like driving an E55 or a S55, this just kind of feels a little sluggish, unfortunately. It rev matches for you nicely. If you put an exhaust on this car, I feel like that would be really enjoyable. Let's actually turn the AC off, see if we gain any more power out of this car. Nice Maserati clock over here. I'm trying to find nice things to say, but there's just not a whole lot I can come up with. The suspension, man, holy shit, they couldn't have come up with something better. Air suspension, I mean, come on, Maserati, like, this is just, it's uncomfortable. You just feel every bump, and it's just, I don't know, it's not very fast, it's not very comfortable. I don't know what this car's supposed to be good at. Just fooling, I think, people into thinking you have some crazy ass sports car. I think that's what this car is designed to be. Just trick and fool people. This will never truly trick a car guy. Like, if you're an actual genuine car guy and you've driven some like solid real cars, this will never ever impress you or wow you. Just letting you know. But see, it's that curious thing, it's the curiosity. If you've never owned one, you've never driven one, how are you supposed to make, you know, a judgment? The fuck. Everything's made in here so cheap. And this mirror adjustment's the worst one I've ever seen. I try to adjust these mirrors, it is nearly impossible to adjust these. They like fold on you when you try. One keeps going forever, it won't stop. I just gave up on that. We'll put it into, oh no, we'll leave it in enjoyable mode. You got a rear sunshade. You do get Bose speakers, but I don't have the radio code, so I can't show you what that sounds like. Battery was disconnected, and unfortunately there's no code in the glove box in this car. We'll do a UE over here. Everywhere you take this car, people tell you, nice car, amazing car, I love your car. But those are, I know those people immediately know nothing about cars when they say that shit to you. The F1 is fun, I'll give it that. The F1 is really fun to drive. The way the fucking everything else feels, just fucking shit. I want to get out of here. I want to get back in the S-Class, enjoy a nice, smooth, coasty, glidey, luxurious ride. We'll do like a nice first gear pull for you guys over here. Will it even shift to first? Yeah, it will. Brakes, oh my god, these brakes, man, like a Toyota Matrix it feels like. The S-Class stops better, and it's not even as quick as this car. The S-Class makes, I don't know, 280, 300 horsepower, 5.0 V8. They need to put better brakes. The air suspension at least on this, like, this was 95K. S-Class was 85K new. This should be a little bit more refined for the price that this cost when it was new, and like what it delivers and what it gives you. I don't know, I feel like it's just an unrefined car. Mind you that this car only has 31,000 miles and it feels like dog shit. Is just, it tells you everything you need to know. It needed a clutch already. It does sound sexy though. The engine itself, like all the bumps and squeaking and all that shit, not so sexy, but the motor exhaust note. We're gonna go put this thing away, hop in the S-Class, have a nice, comfortable ride, man. And this is the selector right here for drive and reverse. Hope you guys enjoyed this test drive.